Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Abbas Ali, your orthopedics faculty with Marrow, and it's an honor to introduce Dr. Juhi to all of you, who has scored 251 in this FMG exam. Congratulations, Dr. Juhi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Before we begin discussing your preparation and everything that you have done, I want to let the viewers know that this was no easy journey for Dr. Juhi. She did half of her MBBS in Ukraine, and then after the war broke out, she had to move away. And I can't even begin to unpack and unravel all the difficult things that she must have gone through to change the university and then continue her course and then finish with her graduation and then get such an amazing score. So, just an awesome job, Dr. Juhi. It's just wonderful and inspiring.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
let me start by asking you, what was your relationship with Marrow like in terms of questions, and how many questions did you do in preparing while doing the question bank?
Sir, the thing is, when I started out 6 months, 6 months prior to my exam, the FMG exam. So at that point, I had kept, it was not a big target, but I had kept a target for like around at least 70 questions a day minimum, like 50 to 70 questions a day, give or take, depends on the day. But then as the exam approached, it was usually I would try to do around gradually, I mean, I increased it to 100, and then later on I think it was around 150, not more than that, because then it would take time to review also. So yeah, around that much. Yeah.
So you started with, say, around 70 questions per day and gradually stepped it up towards
Yeah.
maximum of 150 per day right before your exam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I want to understand your approach to the question bank. Was it subject based? Was it a mixed approach? How did you go about doing it, the modules?
Sir, I would say for the most part, it was a mixed approach for me. So initially, yes, sometimes, if I had just finished up a subject, I would go through the previous year questions or maybe the question banks. But for the most part, I would just make up custom modules with a couple of subjects or all subjects, depending on what I had in mind for that day. And then I would go about it that way.
All right. So you relied more heavily on the custom modules. Any specific reason why you relied on custom modules to do most of the questions every day?
Sir, the thing is, I felt even if I had not covered a particular subject up till now, it would give me it would give me some sort of idea, like for the future, and it would help me link the concepts more with the things that I had already covered. And
Mhm.
other than that, I think because if I spent, the subjects are not divided equally, in the exam also.
Mhm.
So that's why usually I wouldn't prefer doing only like a particular few subjects, like subject wise. That would take, I felt it took more
I
time.
think, Dr. Juhi, what you're trying to emphasize is the fact that when we are doing question bank based on a particular subject, we get become subject biased towards a particular
Yes,
subject. We start to think only in terms of that subject, but in the actual exam, all the questions are mixed, coming from multiple subjects, overlapping information. An orthopedic question can be disguised as an anatomy question, and you can get a physiology question disguised as a pharmacology question. So yes, there is a lot of overlap, and custom module basically builds up to that. Wonderful.
yes.
So now, what about grand tests, Dr. Chui? When did you start taking grand tests?
Sir, I think from the first grand test onwards, I have given almost all, barring one grand test which I could not appear for. But barring that, I tried to give quite a few of them live, as in when I could. But even otherwise, I tried to cover up. Like even if I had missed that slot, I always tried. I'll give the mock test at least, all of them, most of them.
So, say in the last 6 months, right? What was your frequency of giving grand tests?
Frequency, sir, I would say like every around approximately every month or so, I would at least give like one, two,
Two.
one
So
or two
every
at
two
least.
weeks. Every two
Yeah, yeah.
weeks. Now that you have told me that you were doing roughly around 70 questions to 100 questions every day, and you were doing grand test every 2 weeks. Now,
Hmm.
here is my real question. My question is, when you were doing so many questions on a daily basis and a grand test every 2 weeks, so there were quite a lot of questions that you were basically having to review. So what were your
Yes.
strategy with review of these grand tests and question bank questions?
So first of all, what I used to do is initially I would just review in like thoroughly the ones that I had like attempted incorrectly.
Hmm.
Basically, that was my first approach. I cover that at least, and then later on I would brush through the ones that were correct, and I basically emphasize more on the incorrect ones and the guessed correct ones. Basically,
Hmm.
yeah. And
So you focus
every like
more on reviewing. Yes.
just one thing. What I used to do is even if I was like 50-50 in a question, I would attempt it as guessed correct. Like even if I had a
Mhm.
little bit of idea. So that helped me,
Yeah, so it re-emphasized the information
Yeah.
that you were probably forgetting or were unable to recall, and so it became more stronger, and it gave you more confidence in picking that answer later on. Again, if it was repeated. Now, when you were doing the custom modules, were there any specific tags that you relied on?
Sir, initially I was using, I think, all the tags, but later as the exam neared, I started deducting a few tags out of my custom module. So basically, I used to remove out controversial, I used to remove out aims question later on, and in the later stages. Aims, controversial, and recent updates, I used to remove them out.
Right, I think that is a very sincere approach to it, because you're approaching an exam that has a standard, right? The questions will be asked based on that standard. You don't have to unnecessarily read more for it, or unnecessarily waste your time in things that are, highly controversial. So very smart approach in saving your time. And since this is an exam where you do not have negative marking, you don't have to worry too much about these controversial questions. You don't need to spend hours and hours trying to maximize these answers. In any case, what did you ever happen to give subject specific tests, or were you averse to them?
No, sir, I have given the mini tests. I have
Uh-huh.
given most of them. I
Mhm.
think maybe one few subjects I might not have been able to give, but I've given most.
Right, so what was the stark difference that you noticed giving subject wise tests and custom modules?
So for the most part, I would say that in the in the major subjects, I would usually score well enough in the subject-wise sprints. But the minor subjects that would not get as well covered in the custom modules, I would face a little bit of difficulty over there. But
Uh-huh.
but again, as I said, there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of integration. So even like some knowledge from another subject would help out, in certain cases. So that is good.
I think that's a very, very wonderful observation that you have made, Dr. Juhi, and I would like to just break it down in simpler terms. What she said is basically, when she would do custom modules, she found it easier for shorter subjects to score, but compared to subject specific test. Am I right?
Yes,
Because
sir.
subject specific tests basically give you the complete package of information, and what tends to happen is in short subjects, if you do a custom module, you're basically focusing only on highly relevant and important and recent type of questions, whereas doing a subject wise test for a short subject, you're covering everything. So this is a very good strategy, doing subject specific tests for shorter subjects and doing custom modules for bigger subjects and major subjects, kind of covers more important things in less amount of time and more efficient preparation. Right, Joey, what about marathons? Did you participate in marathons?
Marathons, I'm not really sure. I don't think so, sir. I think
Right.
I
So
think are you
basically,
referring to the subject-wise sprints only?
yeah, the
Is
subject wise
Yeah, yeah,
sprint
yeah,
marathon.
yeah. I did, yeah. Yeah.
Right. How do you think it helped you?
So, as I said, the main thing is it helped me delve deeper into the loopholes that I was missing out in the smaller subjects. Mainly, that was the advantage, and it helped me reinforce what I had already like deduced, and I knew what I knew about in the larger subjects. And even there, obviously, there were some bits and pieces that you have to put together, and you to learn the silly mistakes that you have to avoid. Basically, that is very that was very helpful.
Right. So obviously, you must have been putting in a lot of hours to study. On an average, let's just forget the last 1 month for now. On an average, the first 5 months when you were preparing for this exam, how many hours per day would you study?
Sir, it was not a very rigid schedule as such, but if I were to say, uh, I was studying for the most part of the day, except for like, 2 hours when I had to take my lunch and like dinner, and like maybe I took 1 hour off and then I slept. I took a good sleep. I made sure of that. Took a good sleep of 7 to 8 hours every day. That was like a non-negotiable for
So apart from sleeping, just 1 to 2 hours was wasted, and then
me.
everything else was
Yeah,
just studying. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I mean, considering your score 251, which is probably the highest, and in fact, I feel it is the highest score right now in FMG as of right now. Uh, Tell me, what are the? I mean, everybody, talking to people who have secured good scores or good ranks, they always, find the positive from them. I want to know what was the hardest part in your journey.
so the uncertainty, it was very hard. You never know. Like you're putting in the effort, but you don't know what state of mind you will be when the real exam comes. If you'll be making committing the silly errors, if you'll be repeating them, you don't know what. You see, in the mock tests I come to know my marks right away. I click on submit and I come to know my marks. But this wait was very agonizing for me because every day it was like, kya hoga? You don't
How,
know
how
the
did you
results.
over? So you're talking about after the exam. I'm talking about before the exam. What was the most
Before
difficult
the
part in your
exams,
journey?
before the exam, these you doubt yourself. The self doubt is always there. Like, will I make it or will I not?
I'm
Is
doing
this
well now, but will I be able to actually do it on the
Yeah, yeah,
exam?
yeah. Like, will I be able to replicate these marks in the real
How
exam
did you
itself?
overcome them? What did you tell yourself to reinforce that you will do well?
I just took it day by day, to be honest, very honest with you. It was just a very day by day ki ho jayega, it's fine. Do what you can right now. Focus on the present and study what you have to right now. Everything else, if you're putting in the effort, hopefully everything will fall into place later
This
on.
goes to show that even a person who has scored 251, the highest score in FMG, feels exactly the same as someone else. And just goes to show that you just have to minimize your fear of the future and just focus on the present. And it is just universal now. And I think this should be a fact by now, and everybody should understand that whatever they are going through is just universal. Everybody is scared. Just you have to soldier through it. Any advice that you'd like to give to your juniors, if you can just sum it up into 3 points?
One is to obviously have some source of intrinsic motivation. That is very important to power through this phase. It is the 6 months, they're going to be very tough. At least they were tough on me. But you need to have something that motivates you, that keeps you going. Your parents, your final ambition, your goal, whatever it be, you have
Mhm.
to keep that in mind. Secondly, try to integrate the subjects as much as you can personally. The
Uh-huh.
faculties, the teachers, they do try, they will try their best, but once you are reading the 19 subjects, you do come across certain things that seem a little minor, but they will help you understand better, to help you conceptualize better. So make a note, wherever you're writing, whatever notes you're making, make a note in the side. That's what I always did. So basically what I used to do is, if I came across something that was relevant, even remotely relevant, basically I used to make a note of it. So even if I did not get a chance to revisit that subject, I would read about this important point while I was going through this particular
Uh-huh.
subject. So that helped me. And third of all, just as I said, take it day by day. I have a little faith in yourself. I mean, it sounds it's easy to say. I know I've been through it, but you have to. There's no other option. You can do it. Everyone does it, and don't worry. This is like a non-competitive exam. Take it to your advantage. There is no negative marking. So just focus on your preparation. Don't compare. That's the number one. Sorry, sir, no, do not compare. Please do not compare. That really takes that worrying and anxiety up a notch. So please try and do that. Don't compare
So
your Yeah.
wonderfully put. Have some intrinsic motivation, the amount of pleasure and happiness that you will give your parents, the smile on your parents' face. That is very, very important to find that motivation. Have it inside you. Number two, you trust that you will be able to do it. Everybody goes through the same thing. It is a challenge for each and every one of us. And since it's not a competitive exam, just remove that from the equation, make your life a little easier. Don't think about what others are doing, and try to integrate all the subjects that you're reading. Even if it's a very small point, try to think about it and try to associate with all the other subjects that you're reading while solving the questions. I think you have summarized it pretty well, Dr. Joey, and these are the things that will help you, go through this difficult journey. I wish you all the best, Dr. Juhi. It's wonderful talking to you, and I'm sure that you will do very well in the future, and you will be cracking few more exams up ahead. I congratulate you once again on behalf of all the teachers of Marrow, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.